And welcome back to the Livingston Parish News Weekly Show, a podcast brought to you by the Livingston Parish News. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news, and this is Around Livingston. It's where we sit down and talk about what's going on around Livingston. Shocker. So today, as always, we're sitting down with this gentleman here. I'm going to let him introduce himself real quick. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. This is David Gray, news writer with the Livingston Parish News.
And got plenty to talk about today. We're going to start off with election information because we are. This particular podcast is running on Wednesday, October 26th. Early voting is in the midst.
Yeah, it started yesterday, October 25th, and it will run until next Tuesday, November 1st, except for Sunday.
Right. Always the exception of Sunday. Can never early vote on a Sunday. So first and foremost, tell us a little bit about. You've already told us the dates. Let people know where can they vote early.
The two voting locations we talked last week, I believe, about the new Registrar of Voters office, which is 2400 Government Boulevard. They share the same building as the assessor's office, kind of in the heart of government operations in the parish. And also the Dim Springs Walker branch of the Livingston Parish Library System. I believe the address is 8101 US Highway 190 at the roundabout of 190 and Eden Church Road. So those are your two early voting locations. They are open from 8:30 to 6. And like I said, every day through November 1st, except for Sunday, October 30th, the day before Halloween. That is the news for early voting. That's where everyone can go early vote, even though there's a lot of local elections this year. That's where everyone who lives in the parish, if you want to early vote, that's where you go do it.
Right. So, and very impressive pulling that address
out of your
back
pocket. I feel like I've copied and pasted it a lot the last couple of weeks, so it's stuck in my mind now.
Sure. So those are the places you can early vote. Packed ballot. We do have, David has posted a full rundown of what folks will be voting on at that November 8 election, including a ton of constitutional amendments. There was actually so many they split them up in between the November 8th and I believe it's December 10th elections. So be on the lookout for those as well. There is a precinct change that we haven't discussed yet, and I'm going to let you cover that because I believe it only affects one precinct, correct?
Yeah, well, it's multiple precincts, but one location. We spoke with Jason Harris, clerk of court, last week, and after the flood, people who used to vote at the Southside schools, and if you remember, the Southside schools used to be located on separate campuses. The junior high was on Pete's Highway, and the other one was on Range Avenue, where the new STEM Center is. So after the flood, when those two campuses were wrecked and had to be demolished and rebuilt, they moved the precincts that were on those two campuses to Lewis Vincent Elementary. Well, now that the Southside schools have reopened on their new mega campus on Pete's Highway, the site of the old junior high, this year will be the first year that the precincts at Lewis Vincent Elementary, where people have been voting since the flood, they will now go back to the Southside schools. And, depending on where you voted before at the junior high or elementary, will dictate where you vote on that big campus. So you have to check the clerk of court's office to see where you are. But basically, everyone who voted at Lewis Vincent will now go to the Southside mega campus. Just depends on which side of the campus you will go to.
So please keep an eye out for that if you were voting at Lewis Vincent Elementary since the flood. Getting into a little bit of parish council, we would be remiss if we left them out in our usual gathering here. And now this circumstance with regard to injection wells and that kind of thing has turned into a legal process. The parish council is being sued by Air Products. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was, I guess, not unexpected given the last meeting when the parish council approved a moratorium on Class 5 injection wells. And those are the data wells that these companies use to gather information on the geologic makeup of an area to determine whether or not that area is good to be a carbon capture hub. As you know, we have two hubs going on that are in the process in the parish, one on the north end in Holden and one on the south end underneath Lake Maurepas. And this one has to do with the one Air Products is proposing underneath Lake Maurepas, and they filed that last week in federal court. The parish has received it. They're making their case, so they didn't have any comment other than the fact that they received it and are reviewing their next, or I guess considering their next moves. But yeah, this was like I said, not really unexpected, especially during the meeting when the council, because this, unlike the Class 6 moratorium, which that was a moratorium on the injection well, the actual injection wells that'll hold these carbon dioxide emissions. There was some debate on this one. Some of the council members, two of them voted against the moratorium, Gary Talbert and Tracy Gerlinghouse, and uh, this part of their voting against was at the advice of the parish attorney, Chris Moody, who said that it would be illegal for them to do this because, as we've talked about, Lake Maurepas, that is owned by the state, so technically that is the parish has no jurisdiction over that to make any sort of moratorium. He said in his letter to the parish council, and that is also what Air Products said in their lawsuit. The parish doesn't have any authority over Lake Maurepas, and therefore this moratorium is quote unquote invalid. So we'll wait to see the next move from the parish council. As of right now, that issue is not actually on the agenda for their next meeting. It's the first time in 3 or 4 weeks I feel like they won't be talking about carbon capture. But yes, I mean, this is the next step, I guess, after you kind of telling these companies to get out of here, they're gonna fight back. So we'll see what the next move is.
Yeah, and we always like to tell people as well, because we'll be asked when these situations arise, well, do you have any more information? Why won't they talk to you? And ongoing litigation, typically no one's going to talk to you.
Yeah. They will talk in the form of their legal response. That's how they talk.
Right. So it's important to note that now that this lawsuit has been filed, the chances of us getting any more information until either there's a settlement or it goes to court are low.
Yeah.
So I always want to make mention of that to people. Probably not going to have much more than what we discussed today, at least for a while. Getting into something interesting, everyone has been experiencing some increased electrical rates and, higher bills because of cost of gas, among other things. Demco, and I believe Clico as well, those are some of the electric co-ops here in Louisiana, went through the Public Service Commission to try to find better rates on their natural gas.
Well, Demco currently has a contract with Clico. That's
Gotcha.
what it is, yeah.
Okay.
I know it gets a lot of confused with all these codes.
Well, I'm going to let you take it from here.
Well, so we talked earlier this year that Demco is they filed a legal dispute, so not really a lawsuit at the moment or anything like that, just regarding some overcharges or what they view as overcharges with their current power supplier, Clico. Well, that contract ends in April 2024. That's right. So Demco, through the Public Service Commission, had their next contract approved with Nextra Energy Marketing. I had to make sure I get the title correct. So that will be that was approved unanimously, and Demco officials they actually mentioned that there should be a significant savings whenever this contract goes to effect. Possibly a 10 to 15% savings on electric bills. So that was kind of the key that people here would want to know, because Livingston Parish is Demco's biggest customer base. They got 45-ish thousand of their 114-ish meters. So for Livingston Parish, there's a big Demco presence. So, in a couple years, people, I mean, you'd hate that it's a couple years away, but I mean, there is hopefully some point where customers will be able to see some sort of relief on their energy bills. Because like you said, this year has been record-setting usage, prices, all of the above. So any little bit helps.
Yeah. So going to be, and I'm sure Demco customers in the area will be happy to hear that their energy provider is at least trying to find a way.
Yes.
To lower their bill. last but certainly not least, got a little drama brewing with the school system. Last Friday, about roughly 2 dozen, or just shy of two
Yeah.
dozen bus drivers decided not to go to work that day. And that has led into an interesting response from the school system and probably some ongoing discussions between the school system and bus drivers. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, we'll have a bigger story this week, but we'll kind of touch on some of the key points. So yeah, this came one day after the school board voted to approve incentive-based compensation package for bus drivers. This was proposed by school board member Devin Gregoire, and basically for every, say, a bus driver has 80 runs in a month, if they run 85 because they're having to pick up for, bus drivers that miss, etc., then they will get paid for each of those extra 5. So it's an incentive-based program, and because each driver will have a certain amount of their obligated routes per month, and then if they exceed that, then they'll get paid for that. So that happened the day before, but these frustrations have been boiling over for a few months. One of the bus drivers said that they actually sent a proposal back in March to the school board and superintendent, and it wasn't really addressed back then. And during the meeting, even though they got the compensation package, or got a compensation package they were looking for, some of them will say it wasn't necessarily what they were looking for. But there were just a lot of frustrations during the meeting. Arguments even among the school board members. And after the bus drivers dropped off their kids that morning, 21 of them called in sick, and it was mostly the Walker and Livingston areas. I think they had 19 of the 21 absences, but they were the school board or school system said they were able to. The kids were able to get home. That no child was left unattended. That administrators stayed on campus until every child was picked up. So ultimately, no harm necessarily came from it, but a lot of scrambling last minute. Like I said, this was after they had already dropped off their kids in the morning. So this, came about, early afternoon Friday, and, trying to get out for the weekend. So just made for a crazy scramble the last few hours of the week.
Sure. So going to be interesting to see, what comes out from that larger story from you, and how the school board and these bus drivers negotiate that going forward. So thank you, sir. If you'll introduce yourself.
Hey, it's David Gray, news writer with the Livingston Parish News.
And my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys out there for joining us for the Livingston Parish News Weekly Show. This is Around Livingston, where we discuss what's going on around Livingston. Please remember the news is on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We are once a week in print on Thursdays at $7 a month to get that in your mailbox. We're also online, www.livingstonparishnews.com. One more time, we appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you next time.